So how does a herbalist know what to give a person and what's wrong with them? Well, I got to tell you, at least 70 to 80% of the people who come to a herbalist already come with a diagnosis. They know what's going on. They're saying, I've got lupus. What can you do with it? I've got cancer. Oh, don't worry. They're not all going to be that bad. It's usually situations where they've got candida or they've got fatigue or they're going through childbirth, and those are pretty easy things to work with. But by the time you'll finish, you won't be scared to work with the lupuses and the cancers because they're pretty straightforward. Because we don't go into the real detail, what do you do with chemotherapy? What we do is we take a giant step backwards and actually look at the model of what cancer is. And all the person's trying to do is recommunicate with their body and recommunicate with nature. And if you can help them do that, well, they can maybe heal themselves. Herbalists don't heal anyone. All they do is give them directions. But what are the tools I use in the clinic? Well, my favorite one is using iridology. I look at the irises of the eyes. And I learned this from Bernard Jensen and Dr. Christopher way back in the late 60s and the early 70s. And it's still the tool that I like the most. I know a lot of naysayers, even herbalists, say, how can that work? Well, when you get into it deep enough, you can learn an awful lot. When you can look at the irises, you can be able to tell all the various physical things in the body, and you can see how they shape. It's kind of like an astrology chart. No, it's not folk-tailing, things like that. But it really gets you to see in one picture relationships with each other. If you see a weakness in the pancreas, that doesn't mean they have pancreatitis. If you see a weakness in the kidneys, that doesn't mean their kidneys falling out or anything like that. But what it does is it gives you a probability. What do I mean by that? It helps you be able to figure out what your questions are. You can, if you see the weakness of the kidney, then you start asking questions about the urinary tract. And as we go through the course, we'll be seeing that that person can have an excessiveness in the kidneys or a deficiency in the kidneys. By you asking the proper questions, you'll be able to figure out, should I stimulate the kidneys or should I sedate the kidneys? Or maybe the kidneys are weak enough I don't want to touch them. I want to support the kidneys. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys work with water. So how do I hold in water? I work with earth. I build a dam. So maybe by working with the digestive tract, oh, you don't want to get into all that stuff now. But the point here is by being able to build up various things that come from nature, we'll be able to understand that. Iridology will help you see a map, but you can also go beyond that because you can start looking at the emotions in the eyes, and you can look at some of the mental concepts. This is iridology 2, or personality, sometimes called RAID, and other techniques to look into the eyes. As we move along, we'll be introducing you to those various ideas. I also like to use Chinese pulse diagnosis. Chinese and Ayurvedic pulse diagnosis will help you decide what's going through the various acupuncture meridians. And by knowing what's going through the various acupuncture, you can know if one's overfiring or not. I had some people come in today that said, oh, they're so fatigued, they have no energy. And I did a pulse diagnosis. Says, sorry, ma'am, your bank account is full. Your batteries are full. You've got all the energy in the world. Says, why do I feel so bad? Well, literally, something's got your PIN number in your bank account and stealing your money. That's all. You've got Candida albicans. So in this case, it wasn't a fatigue. It hadn't got through to the core of her body at all. Literally, it was an organism that was stealing her energy. So all we have to do is do a proper cleanse, put her on the right diet, do a few fermented foods and some probiotics and be able to change that. I mean, it's going to take 3 to 9 months, mind you, but once we change her life, she'll get back her energy as she goes along the line. The most important thing in her case was her core energy was not touched. So by using pulse diagnosis, you'll be able to see how the various energies go. You can use tongue diagnosis. This is a great one. Once you learn tongue diagnosis, within a few seconds, you can be able to know what's going on in a person's body. It's a full map. I also like to use foot reflexology. And there's all kinds of places you can learn foot reflexology. You can come to the college. I'm sure there's a course in your community. But it works with the various zones through your body. And we don't really put that on tape because it's a hands-on practical thing. It's kind of hard to teach massage on tape, if you understand what I'm saying, over the internet. But you can find a place in your community and be able to work with the person's feet. You know what? Even as a senior herbalist, I still work on people's feet. A lot of people think that's crazy. But you know, a person will tell you anything when you're massaging their feet. How do you build rapport with your patients? Get them to take off their shoes and socks, put them in an easy chair, and start massaging their feet. And they promised everyone before they went in they weren't going to tell them about cheating. But as soon as I'm massaging their feet, oh, I got to tell you about the wine I had on Wednesday. And I wasn't supposed to, but sometimes you just got to get down and get personal with people. And that's the way you get through them and work with the rapport. And heck, I mean, it was good enough for Jesus for massaging people's feet. It's good enough for me, I would say. So don't sell yourself short. Sometimes you got to be able to work with the various aspects. So also, we got a motto in our clinic. We cover you from head to toe. So if I work in your eyes and I work in your toes, well, I've covered you from head to toe. So look at the various aspects. The great ancestors had all kinds of them. You can use face diagnosis. You can use tongue diagnosis. You can use ear diagnosis. You can use iris diagnosis. You have to decide what basically it is. But I used a bad word, diagnosis. In Canada, at least, in the United States, it's against the law for herbalists to diagnose. That is a level of medicine. Only medical doctors can do that, the College of Physicians and Surgeons. And us herbalists, we don't want to diagnose anyway. Because what does it really mean? Die, two, agnos, not know. That means two people don't know what's going on. So why would we want to diagnose in the first place? So we would really like to look at it as a technique of being able to understand the signs and the symptoms. Literally, just like the First Nation people I started work with on the Kootenay Plains in my teepee many years ago, we're just looking at energy patterns and realizing the energy patterns and matching those up with the energy patterns in the plants. Those energy patterns can be very detailed biochemical pathways, or they could be just the shape of a plant. They could be the aroma of the plant. They could be the dreams of the plant. What's he talking about now? Dreams of the plant? Well, one of my most favorite areas to work is flower essences. We've got a course online if you want to do it. And flower essences are tapping into the dreams of the flowers. I know that sounds crazy, but literally, it works on the emotional aspect. What do you think you go when you dream? You're literally moving into your astral or your emotional body. By moving into your emotional body, you'll be able to resolve all kinds of things that have gone on during your day. You don't have to look at the detail of the content, even though they can tell you about things, but those aren't what really is happening. They're literally metaphors of things in your life. And those metaphors will work with the metaphors of the plants. So flower essences are good for working with your emotions. So on one end, we work with the flower essences, or maybe the homeopathics, to be able to work with a person's emotional, mental things. We might try to ground a person with the fungi kingdom. Or we might use the herbs for various aspects, metabolic functions, or cleanses, detoxes, things like that, to be able to clean out their eliminatory tract. So that's the route that you can choose as a herbalist, and you have to define which ones are going to be the add-ons that you want to do so you can go through this process.